Report in, crew, because tonight the war crossed a line it had managed to hold for 5 months. For 5 months, the war on Iran has been fought on tankers and warships, on military hulls and oil cargoes, ugly but contained to the machinery. On Tuesday, in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, that ended. Houthi forces fired 3 ballistic missiles at a cargo ship called the Tahama, an Egyptian-owned merchant vessel with a working crew aboard. And then, while rescuers were pulling the dead and the wounded off the burning hull, they fired again. Yemen's internationally recognized government counts at least 6 people dead and 10 wounded. Not soldiers on a warship, sailors on a freighter, and the men who came to save them. Tonight's after action is about the day the war reached the people who were only ever trying to move cargo. Name the dead by what they were, because that is the whole weight of this. In the first strike, 4 crew were killed, 3 Pakistani sailors and 1 Indonesian. Civilians, merchant seamen, doing a job. Then came the part that turns a tragedy into something colder. As Yemen's Coast Guard moved in to evacuate the casualties, a second missile came down on the rescue itself, and at least 2 of the responders were killed. Listen to how the Coast Guard described it. Quote, "The attack struck the site of the rescue operation and resulted in deaths and injuries among the forces participating in the response operation." Read that plainly, crew. Someone timed the second missile for the men who came to help. A double strike the responders deliberately hit. That is the mechanism that turned 4 dead into at least 6. Here is the marker on the day, and then an honest complication I will not hide from you. By Al Jazeera's account, Tuesday is the first time this war has killed the crew of a commercial ship since the United States and Israel launched it back on February 28th. 5 months of a maritime war, and this is the day it reached working sailors. But the target itself is disputed, and the 2 accounts do not meet, so I'm going to give you both and let them stand apart. Yemen's recognized government says the missiles hit the Tahama, a commercial cargo vessel. The Houthis' own news agency, Saba, tells a different story. It says the group struck a Saudi ship carrying military equipment, and it did not even name the vessel. One account is a freighter full of crew, the other is a military resupply run. I cannot reconcile them for you tonight, and I will not pretend to. But here is what is not in dispute in either version. The men who died were Pakistani and Indonesian civilians. Now widen the map, because the Tahama was not the only ship hit in that 24 hours. On the other side of the Arabian Peninsula, 1 day earlier, on August 11th, a U.S. Navy helicopter fired 2 Hellfire missiles at a container ship, the Panama-flagged Vela Nova, in the Gulf of Oman, and knocked out its engine room and its steering. Central Command says the ship, quote, attempted to transit the Gulf of Oman and violate the U.S. blockade against Iran by sailing toward an Iranian port, and that it ignored repeated warnings. The U.S. did not say whether any of the crew were wounded, and by Central Command's own count, this blockade has now disabled 55 commercial vessels. So count it plainly, crew. 2 strikes, 2 waterways, 1 day. A Houthi missile on one side, an American Hellfire on the other, both fired at commercial ships. 1 killed the crew, 1 crippled the hull. The whole maritime economy of the region is the front line now. And the choke point between those 2 waterways, the Strait of Hormuz, stays shut, on Iran's terms, with a price tag the whole world is paying. Iran's Mohsen Rezai put the condition bluntly, quote, "The strait will not be opened until the United States changes its behavior and accepts Iran's conditions." Now look at what that closure costs in cold numbers. On Monday, the maritime tracking firm Windward counted just 10 vessels crossing Hormuz. Before this war, the daily average was roughly 130. From 130 down to 10. And Brent crude, the global benchmark, sat at $89.53 a barrel, about 24% higher than the day the war began. Yesterday on this desk, the ledger was about who pays for a closed strait, and the answer was the barrel of oil. Tonight, the ledger is smaller and far heavier, and it is measured in crews. After action, and it is a heavy one. For 5 months, a war on Iran stayed inside the machinery, warships and tankers and blockades, terrible but somehow bounded. On Tuesday, it broke that boundary and killed 4 merchant sailors on a freighter, and then it killed the men who came to pull them out of the water. Both sides bank something from a day like this, the grim proof that they can reach any hull in these lanes whenever they choose. What neither side pays is the bill. That falls on a Pakistani sailor's family, on an Indonesian crewman's family, and on every household that will feel a 24% oil premium in a fuel tank half a world away. So here is what to watch, crew, and it is not the next warship. Watch whether Tuesday was the exception or the new rule, whether the first crew killed on a commercial deck becomes the last or the first of many. When the shipping lanes become a shooting gallery, the people who signed on to move food and containers are the ones who pay first. 3 Pakistanis and an Indonesian paid it on the Tahama. Stay sharp out there. I'm Mark, and this is Pixel Politics,